Sekigahara. He is from the future. He's got amnesia, being in the battle where everybody else had their Sentinels infected. Paired up with Yori Fuyasaka. But I'm going to put it on the table right now. We chose this character because he seemed kind of like the least interesting of the choices that we have left right now. It's weird. He's definitely got a lot of stuff going on. I mean, the first thing that we saw in his story was that Morimura died, and that's a very important character. Been in, well, as we've seen, she's been in pretty much every single one of the time periods doing something or another. But this is also another amnesia character, much like Juro, much like Shinamone. And he's sort of in between both of them, where he remembers more stuff than Juro, obviously, but also is not. He's not as sick as Shinamone, but he's also still from the future, so he's going to have just tons and tons of like weird, unexplainable stuff, like every one of the characters here. But unlike every one of the characters, he's actually expected to know about it, except for the amnesia.
Yeah. So
makes it just really hard to like. It's just going to be more of the same thing where we're getting like weird revelations and stuff that, that's going to make sense in the future. But for right now, it's just, it's going to be a weird start.
Yeah, we're like going into an obscure, like a dark room, and we're clawing our way through the darkness, and it's hard to tell what's actually going to be interesting, what's going to be significant in advance. It's hard to tell what characters are going to be really interesting. Like, if you hadn't told me that, I would have been like, oh yeah, sure, I'm curious. It's kind of that kid's got the hair. Okay, what's going on with him? Like, I can remember this. Let's figure out what his deal is. But
try and figure out what his deal is. But remember, like, before we even started trying to record here, I was sort of attempting to give you a rundown on the characters we had left, and it's like, I can't remember any of this, and that's the 13 Sentinels experience.
Yeah, it's like, it feels like it's just so difficult that you just can't remember any of the characters. It's simulating amnesia.
It's funny. You really do get in the minds of the characters in that way, but the problem is that with like A, who is supposed to know stuff, versus let's say Natsuno, who doesn't know anything and just finds a robot buddy. It's gonna be even harder to get a grasp on the storyline for a while for A.
Yeah, and so what we can do is we can game out, like, we can meta game this, in a word, to figure out what's probably happening, what the relations of the characters are. Actually, the fact that he's the most boring character might mean that he's the most important in the end. That's kind of a weird quirk of these games, just because, that's hidden in plain sight.
Never forget that we started out saying, Juro is boring main character, and then once I played like a little bit more of he's got some weird stuff going on in the second half of his storyline.
Ooh, okay.
Everyone does, but, that's also the 13 Sentinels thing, where there's always a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, I do like that it apparently gets very, very weird, because for the most part, what we've seen so far, there's been a lot of kind of weird stuff that has happened, but it's not been like it feels like you're almost kind of getting hypnotized into this kind of mundane high school life. It's just that there's some secret agents running around, there's some robots and stuff. It's kind of muted, actually, in terms of you think about how absurd the stuff that we've seen so far, how many layers of stuff. It's kind of like, and then they go to the school, and then they go to the bathroom, and then they go to the courtyard, and it's like...
ultimately, a lot of the characters that we see are just kind of going to school every single day in between. Yeah. That's also the thing that we talked about in the last episode, where when everything is a huge revelation, then nothing is.
Yeah.
And we're just kind of getting used to that.
Yeah.
It's just sort of a normal part of the entire game. And when the character... And it's like, when the character has, like, amnesia, like, what is he going to do about it right now? Mm-hmm. He's just going to be sort of inundated with information from, say, mysterious people that are calling him on the phone, and he's not quite sure what's going to be happening.
Mm-hmm. I gotta mention that. So I was kind of just, in the city, stuff, walking around, and I saw A guy I recognize is Wenry Hinklers. You know, from the show Happy Days. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I've seen that. I've heard of Happy Days.
Okay. So anyway, I was just like, just sitting there smoking, and I just mentioned offhand, like, oh hey, yeah, we're doing this right now. I'm doing like this series on this channel, and it's gonna do it. And he's like, what game? Like, what visual novel? I'm like, oh, it's 13 Sentinels, Aegis Rim. You probably never heard of it. And he's like, no, he loves that. And he told me his favorite character is Sekigahara. No.
Okay, let me break this down for 1 second. You stop the train of thought where we're actually talking about the game and trying to, come up with something to say here.
Yeah.
So that you could tell that story, which is a reference to Happy Days, a show that came out in the 80s that it was in syndication for many, many years past that point, but I'm fairly certain has not been on television for the past 15 to maybe even 20 years. I can't even imagine that anybody watching this has even knows what that show is, much less about Wenry Hinklers playing the Fonz, Arthur Fonzarelli, famous character whose catchphrase is saying A and making a thumbs up motion. Nobody would know about that.
A for Arthur. I actually forgot about the thumbs up thing. Okay, I just remember it says A. That's how.
And this is now the cornerstone of the episode. What an amazing joke! Thank you, everybody. This is why I got a Sekigahara on this channel after all.
Oh, I see what you
bring out those amazing references.
Well, no, but I mean, it was something that happened to me, though.
I mean, bring out the amazing stories that he has. He's a guy with a lot of stories, and it's shocking how many of them are extremely relevant to the exact game that we're playing right now.
I thought I'd lost it.
It's shocking. Like, I didn't even realize people played this game, to be honest. I mean, it's so complex.
Well, it's a visual novel.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I suppose.
So,
Like, I had never heard of this, and I'm not, like, completely, ignorant of visual novels as a genre. Like, I know what they mean. I've played several of them.
No, those aren't mine.
Yeah, I mean, a Vanillaware, that's true for me, too. When I was told, it's like, hey, well, I was going to say, hey, have you ever heard of 13 Sentinels? But no, it's more like, hey, you're going to be playing 13 Sentinels. With how these whole, like, force me to play a game thing works. That I had never heard of it either.
Okay.
I mean, I knew about Vanillaware, but aside from that, when I booted up the game, this was the first time that I'd seen anything about it.
I'm surprised that it isn't more well known, given that it is like it has that kind of extreme ambition that I feel like at least gets rewarded in terms of memes. Like it is one of the most complex plots that I've seen, but I guess you could say the same for Danganronpa. These are not like incredibly well-known franchises. They're just like, oh, if you know where to look, yeah, okay, now I'm seeing.
Yeah, I suppose I'm not really in the visual novel. Visual novel like sphere of knowledge, whatever you want to call it.
Like I'm not in a Discord for visual novels.
I wonder how many are out there.
They're probably a lot.
I still am 100% interested in like actually playing a proper dating sim sort of thing at some point in time. I'm not talking a dating sim where they also go fight monsters or something. I just want like a pure, just simple dating sim because that just seems interesting. There's so many video games that are about, hey, we got to go out and save the world and everything like that. That to see something that takes that sort of very low-key look at life and everything, I just think would be a curiosity, even if I didn't enjoy it in any other way.
Yeah. Just low stakes. But it's not low stakes because love is all we have. Never forget that.
True.
All right.
I mean, but here it's like we don't have love. We only have giant robots. Actually, once again, the giant robots factor into this story a surprisingly little amount. They're mostly just used as more or less like gigantic human-shaped taxis between time periods.
One of many extreme science fiction things that is happening in the background, and they're just, but it's weird because they're apparently the main gameplay. Like, it's all the gameplay is that, you know?
Yeah, it's true. When you're not visual noveling words, you are fighting robots with robots.
So, by the way, in that last scene, I was talking to Fuyusaka, who we know becomes Morimura, who is, and I'm assuming, who's the one on the left?
That is Tetsuya Ida. He is, I guess the easiest way to describe him is he's sort of like the head of the Sentinel project. We saw him in the future when he was directing, who was it, Juro, Shinamone, and Tsukasa. You remember Tsukasa Okina, and you remember the thing that you say every single time I say his name.
Yeah. Very nice guy, very sharing. I think this. So, can you say the character's name again? I'm sorry, I will remember it.
Tetsuya Ida. Tetsuya
Ida. I think Tetsuya Ida.
Also, there's something an interesting sort of thing that he was saying right there.
I missed it because I was trying to remember.
We'll start another loop.
Oh, okay. Huh. Anyway,
so there's an interesting, yeah. It's just like, if we fail, we will start another loop. There you go. This is in fact a time loop story. In case you're wondering.
Have we seen older Sekigahara?
No, I don't think we have.
Oh, but
if he is there,
I think.
However, I think that that does in fact allow us to kind of reconcile how there's so many Morimuras around at the very least.
Yeah, I think Tetsuya,
because she might not turn into Morimura, but that might be a time loop thing later on. Then
I think
that it's like she's from a previous time loop.
Hold
stuff
on.
Like that.
Yeah, but I mean, I think Tetsuya Ida is also Sekigahara. I think those are the same.
No, we already know who he is. He's Shu Amaguchi.
Well, have you ever seen them at one? Oh, right. Oh, okay. Have you ever seen them in one place?
Don't you remember? That was remember when we saw Juro, like future Juro, or I guess maybe time loop Juro?
Uh-huh.
Now, he was shooting, I guess maybe in one of the previous time loops at this point in time, that he was shooting like a bunch of the other main characters.
Uh-huh.
And when Morimura shot him down instead, then he was like, "Oh, it's me. I'm Tetsuya Ida." Okay, he said it in a little bit more natural way than that, but still.
I feel like Tetsuya Ida is showing up a lot more than the rich kid. That I guess we barely see the rich kid, it feels like.
We haven't seen his story just yet.
Okay.
And don't worry, we're kind of like waiting.
Oh, you mentioned that's going to be one of the last ones for this first half.
Yeah, because, well, hey, when you got a character who, I guess, doesn't turn into this character, but is highly related to this character, some wacky stuff is going to happen.
Yeah.
Because as of right now, if there was one person who we could... Morimura and Ida are more or less, like, the characters who are most in the know right now.
Okay.
Maybe Okino. Maybe Tsukasa Okino.
Okay.
Because despite the fact that he was in the battle where all the people lost their memories, he does not seem to be suffering from amnesia for whatever reason.
Okay.
When everybody else had their sentinels infected, which caused the amnesia, he seemed to have been spared from it. Despite the fact that he's not a main character. I mean, we'll still see him as mostly a main character in Hijiyama's storyline later on, but you might be doing next at this rate.
Yeah, no, I mean, I hate how much, like, knowledge I'm gaining. This just feels like this feels like a job, like, learning.
Oh, how do you think I feel having played through this game essentially 3 times between the series, the editing, and actually playing the game?
In fairness, I mean, isn't that your job?
At this point in time, yes.
Okay. But yeah, no, I'm just like getting so much information, having to interrelate these characters. It's very much like just, it's a job. Like, I should be documenting this. I should be making like a one of them.
Wait, if we destroy the time machine, time will cease to flow? What? Ida, you're going to have to explain a little bit more than that. What?
Nope. That's all you
No,
get.
you can't just do a to be continued right there. What does that even mean? What is this? What is this time machine, like a bomb or something?
Well, they're all on a spaceship in 2100, and there's 5 simulations going on. I don't know. I actually think that might be really plausible because that is the latest that we see. They're all adults. It would make sense.
I mean, we do have the 2188 scenes. It would be pretty easy to just set that up, right?
Yeah, the amnesia could just be...
At this point in time, we actually do have a lot of information in the game. Enough to make like a cohesive storyline in any way? No. But
no,
I think that, okay, between like multiple versions of characters, time loops, the 2188 scenes, knowing that like Ida and Morimura are 2 of the characters that exist right now, we're starting to like craft together an actual timeline of events and whatnot.
Yeah, it's like the opposite of a puzzle. We have like, where you start with the edges and corners and stuff, and you put that together. This is the part where you're just doing like a freehand puzzle, like one of them without like a border. You ever do that, and you just have to put things that look together in the same grouping.
That is. The funny thing is, I was actually thinking about that exact thing, I think, the last time we were recording, where I'm like, a lot of these are just kind of like puzzle pieces. But when I say puzzle pieces, I don't mean of like a bigger picture. I mean as if they're like flipped over and we're trying to put them together where they don't seem like they have anything to do with each other, but somehow they're interlocking anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it feels like, okay, well, what is this? I can't recognize what any of this is, but it's together. These are grouped together. Like, this is Fuyusaka, right?
But we are told that these are eventually going to make something.
Like, that is Fuyusaka's on the left, right?
Yes, that is Fuyusaka on the left. That is Tomi Kisaragi on the right, or in the middle right now, whatever.
Okay. And
if we remember last time, she was revealed to have a robot double, which is another one of those fun wrenches in the entirety of what we're talking about here. How does that work? I don't know. Is everybody a robot? And that's why like the real people are in 2188? Maybe.
I think there's also something
I feel like people would realize if they were robots at this point in time, though.
I feel like it is a simulation thing. Like, that just feels like what the meta plot is going to be, is that they're in simulations. Maybe they're testing out these different eras to see which would be more suitable to terraform.
More suitable for
Yeah, because
do you really think there's a possibility that we'd want to... This is like a Star Trek plot. Ah, yes, the 1944 planet. Ah, yes, World War II planet. This is the one that is optimal for human development.
Yeah, we're going to send...
Then again, with how stupid a lot of the stuff in sci-fi tends to go, it's not even entirely unplausible.
Well, I mean, it could be that they have to reconstruct the world, and they're figuring out where it would be most profitable. Like, you can only do one. You can only terraform one planet. What are we going to make this
profitable sort of thing?
Yeah, I feel like that was the plot of Solaris, but it's been like 15 years, and I don't remember.
Yeah, I remember...
15 years since I saw the original, not since I saw the George Clooney remake, but I should see that too.
I mean, my thought when I was watching this was something like, this is some kind of like, I don't know, like it's like a theme park. You remember how the one guy in 2188 was waxing nostalgic about like, oh man, I want to be born in the 1940s.
Yeah.
And like they reconstructed this and wiped his memory, Total Recall style. So he could go live in the 40s, or maybe like a clone of himself, or maybe a robot that he's taking over, or maybe the nanomachines in the brain are allowing him to experience a clone of himself in the 40s, or something like that.
Yeah, was this from this game?
I don't know.
Because there was that.
Because it's just like, what are you gonna say about this right now? It's like, that's stupid. But everything I just said was incredibly stupid. But given what we've seen, it's like, yeah.
Well, in fairness, I really do think it's.
And then we're about to see like the clones, something. Who knows what's going on?
So we're around like, I think this is the 10th episode that we're recording, and like
this is episode 10, baby. Yeah. Double digits.
Take 10 of episode 10.
Yeah, look, I don't want to do the entire like meta thing, but oh my god, I was losing it trying to
really
start this
wanted me to get
episode.
that
I don't
Henry
even know
Winkler
how to
right,
explain
and I
it.
still mess it up.
I was like tearing out my hair because for whatever reason, I'm just in a very persnickety mood. Let's just say that.
Well, you wanted me to get that. I said that Henry Winkler line.
Oh, that stupid Henry Winkler. Of course, I'm sitting over here doing this whole thing where I'm like gasping in disbelief. But that was the original idea for the episode, that I was going to have you start out like that.
Well, I mentioned it offhand.
It's like, I'm here criticizing you. I'm here bullying you about that. And my idea was, oh man, that's a good start to the episode. I'm going to try and work that in somehow.
Well, it was funny because it's just a line that I just said offhand. It was like after a pause, and I messed it up. I actually said it wrong. It's like, oh, A Sekigahara. That's Wenry Hinklers' favorite character.
Oral NM. See if the bottle's made of plastic.
Favorite
Yes.
character.
As long as it's
And then we spent like 5 attempts trying to be like, okay, say it right, say the line.
particular fun.
As I'm getting increasingly frustrated, mostly with myself for the fact that we couldn't start up the episode, because I don't know. I've talked about that before, where I'll sometimes just have like 17 videos that are all 5 seconds long, where I tripped over the words at the start. Now we gotta do it again.
Yeah, exactly.
People always talk about me being like, it sounds like you're talking like you're scripted, and it's like, no, I just did this 17 times beforehand. Then I throw out an entire hour-long recording because I'm like, it's not good enough.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at these
And I'm just-
medical records.
And I'm intentionally delivering this line like I'm reading it off a cue card for the first time.
That's
And
a
you're
good
like,
bit.
yeah, no, and you're like, no, you. Why does it sound like you're reading this off the cue card? They don't know that that's you doing a bit right now. It just sounds like you're reading it right.
And it's like, what does that even make any sense? What does it even matter? Why do I care?
And Juro Izumi.
Well, the thing you do is you imagine
The weird surrealness, if anything, would probably make the episode better.
You're imagining the words like reading off, like you imagine a text document that's in front of you. You don't actually make this, yeah, and then you read off of that. Like Henry Winkler's favorite character is.
I'll admit I've been tempted to do that sort of thing before, but I just.
Those men that are after me.
That's a lot of text to write.
What you wanted me to do.
Yo, it's really. Yo, how could you imagine doing like an hour-and-a-half episode and trying to script a bunch of bits or something like that?
Yeah, no, I was just thinking about that. Like, oh yeah, I should write some monologues for this. You know, like some Midwestern.
I mean, I've thought about that
humor.
before. Like,
Give us a
hey,
feeler
is
kind
there
of stuff.
anything about this item in Dead Cells that I want to talk about? And I'm like, well, okay, there's a comparison. Like, for example, oh, this item is similar to stuff like in Bloodborne. How can I get that into a tight monologue?
Yeah, exactly. How do I get this? How do I get this into like a series of like a one-man show kind of thing? Like, yeah, well,
I think it's a good way to start out doing a lot of stuff, but as of this point, I'm just mostly going off of improvisation.
Yeah.
I think I should really go back to trying to plan out these episodes a little bit more, so they don't turn into me restarting them 20 different times.
back in 2009, I was reading Bloodborne in the papers. I don't know.
That's right.
The Bloodborne scandal was going on.
It was
Hear about John Bloodborne and his embezzling efforts.
yeah.
And that gave me an idea. And so at the grocery store, I saw John Bloodborne buying salami, and I'm like,
Entirely abandoned.
man, how much salami does this guy need?
And that's how I met my first wife of 3.
This
Who I
turret should
hate.
be able to tell me where I am.
I don't know, I'm just...
Android information here.
There's something about grocery stores and monologuing. I don't even know where I was going with that.
Yeah. It's weird that they had grocery stores.
Because it's like, oh, I saw this guy doing this thing. And it's like, no, you just came up with a bit and you said, I saw this guy. But it's like, what does that matter? Why does that matter? That's exactly what I want to do.
Wait, is this the take where I
But
actually...
do I have to pretend like it's something spontaneous? No.
I can't...
What a weird introspective episode this has turned into.
Yeah. This is one of those... Did I say that... I said the joke with Henry Winkler in this take, right? Like, we don't...
Yes.
We're not just referencing
I
nothing.
just talked about how I used that
not-
as an avenue to bully you, even though I wanted you to use
But
that
I
in the first
but I
place.
actually said the joke, right? Like, in this take. right?
This place is being used.
Yes.
Okay, that would be so weird if we had...
Otherwise, that would be really weird
We're
to be
just-
talking about this.
It's like we're just referencing something that happened, but it never happened.
Could it be from shifting?
Not unheard of.
Yeah.
But still.
I mean, we have done bits for 40 minutes. Oh, hey, that's Fuyusaka.
Oh yeah, these are the robots that were in Kisaragi's storyline.
Okay.
I mean, I guess they're probably like from the future. Hey, there's the rare death scene that happens in this game. What are you supposed to do? Let them get very close, and then Tomi Kisaragi comes in. Obviously this is the robot Tomi Kisaragi. You can even see her leg, but still. Oh, at least we're getting a little bit more explanation as to this. Would have been weird if we started out this story. Well, that's the whole thing with the amnesia that I was saying before. That it's like there would be so many just weird things happening. But then again, I guess that did just happen in the Fuyusaka episode anyway.
If you had a total amnesia...
There's no good way to do this series.
Yeah,
That's
no.
another frustrating thing.
If you woke up from amnesia and you just like looked around and you saw all these deadly robots, would you be like, oh, that's probably normal? Or would you be like, oh, this is extremely abnormal, but also I don't remember anything, so maybe it's normal?
Or you, rather.
It's really hard to say.
Like,
It is like,
Been infected with code.
oh my god, you've been infected with code DD426, baby. Hey, does that sound familiar?
It's a
that's
program
like
that's been implemented
2064 when the AI came around.
into the nanomachines
Oh my
in your
God.
body to be
Actually,
considered.
seriously, that is true.
You
Its main function is to sever a portion of the nanomachine. The part that's cut is
anyway,
I mean-
yes, like 426, the
and that
prisoner
region
guy.
of the brain is where memories are stored.
I mean, I guess that makes sense because, Shinamone was trying to go after A, who she thought was 426, but at this point in time, I think it's pretty clear that he's not.
Come
Okay.
ask.
Which, I don't know, given
That
Shinamone's whole thing, it's like,
I've had them ever since I got here.
it's hard to know if she was actually correct about A being 426, but,
Maybe there are multiple characters who are 426, and
that could also be the case, too. I mean, we are talking about time loops and
Access to your nanomachines
multiple
is
versions of
restricted.
characters and robot versions of characters and
Program is
da-da-da-da-da.
implemented.
So one of the characters with amnesia becomes 426, and it's either Juro, A, or A,
Well-
A,
Hey!
or
I
Shinamone.
become a husk.
No joke.
Depends on the intensity of the infection.
I suppose so. I mean,
Or how
okay.
much time you spend inside the
Exactly.
infected
Here's the
area.
thing.
The longer you're in there, the worse it'll be. Let's
As
assume
of
the
right
infection
now,
spreads slowly.
I mean, especially now that we have the idea of the time loop introduced here,
It'll take about a month. That's the best case
It's-
scenario. Worst case would be within a few days.
I don't know. I don't even know where I'm going with
feel
this
like
right
there's
now
too
because I'm
many-
trying to like even reconcile it with what we know right now, and I
There's
just
a
can't.
way to delay its
Okay.
effects.
Yeah, no.
So let's just say yes.
And is it odd for you, because like you feel like you're kind of confused by the things that are happening, because you've played through it and you've seen everything, and it's still
No, I mean, the
like,
thing
hard
is,
to grasp the context, even knowing everything has been revealed for you.
It's the
Is it hard for you to pretend like you don't know
I've
things?
said this before, but yes, I do know everything that's going on, but I'm trying to affect not knowing everything that's going on. So it's like
It's nothing complicated.
it's really hard. I mean, that's the whole thing. Where if I'm trying to put myself in a mindset of somebody who doesn't know everything that's going on, I'm just like, I don't know what's. You can't. It's hard to tell what's happening.
Well, what you should be doing is you should be kind of like, giving these like, really intriguing hints to me. Being like, oh,
The game's doing that plenty itself right now.
But yeah, no, it feels like that's the game's function. Like, that's all it does. It constantly is just titillating you with new information. Or otherwise.
I don't know. Is it just me, or I also think it's kind of hokey when somebody's like, "Oh, here's a really good part coming up now." Oh yeah, you're gonna like this, or something like that.
You ever, like, go... I've probably done this. I've probably been the guy for you. Like, somebody's trying to show you something that they think is funny, and they keep looking back at you and smiling, like, expecting you to laugh. Process the information as, it was for them. Like, it was this great novel thing for them. Like, it was an unexpected series of words to them, and you're like, they're expecting you to react the exact same way when you hear it for the first time, even though they
Yeah,
know you.
I mean, I can never get mad at somebody like that because it's somebody just trying to show you something they love, you know.
It's earnest. I love
It's a
it.
very earnest sort of thing, even though it might be a little bit suffocating to have them like
Well,
just
it's-
somebody scrutinizing your every single facial movement as you're watching.
It's hard to find something funny when you know somebody's scrutinizing your micro facial movements.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like I get it. You want to
Sekigahara.
share something you love, you know.
Yes,
But I mean, here it's like
especially for something
we
as
talked about this before. I don't really love this game. Sorry, everybody. I'm sorry, all the 13 cent heads
13 cents
out there.
Just an ordinary cop.
Yeah.
But it's you know.
What do they call those people?
I got no idea. I'm not in the visual novel circles. Remember?
Yeah, I bet they call themselves like something cool, like we're the Aegis crew or whatever.
What would you call yourself if you were that? What's a dumb thing that we've seen so far that would make it for a good good name?
14th Sentinel.
Likely the root of, but who would create and why?
The 14 Sentinels.
Yeah, the 14th Sentinel. Yeah, like, you know, that's what they do for teams, like sports teams. They'll be like, oh, you're the 6th man, or you're the 10th man, or you're the 12th man. I mean, this is for different sports.
Is this a real thing? Because I never know.
Yeah, no, I'm not actually making this up. Like for basketball, it'd be the 6th man. You're the 6th man, or for football, because there's 11 people. Like that's what it's based on. It's that plus one. You're the one who's
Really, I've never.
It's not.
I
Like,
mean, I'm not also not in sports circles, so.
you would have no reason to know about this. This is basically like.
But then again, would you think that that like visual novel fans would cross over enough with sports fans to take the terminology?
I mean, I think anyone who has ever seen like a season ticket deal
The person I killed.
might be aware of this, but it's like no one else would be. This is like deep sports lore that they do.
Yeah, because
This is like local broadcast saying, hey, the fans, you're our 12th man. Or you're our 12th fan.
Huh.
Or whatever.
But at the same time, sports are so omnipresent. Oh man, this is me being an incorrigible nerd again, where I'm just like, I don't understand when people are being nerdy.
You're the 12th Bronco. Our season ticket holders. Are the
I feel embarrassed for even being this surprised about this, because it's just like, oh come on, now you're just revealing yourself as being the biggest nerd here.
Yeah.
Oh, do people who play video games even watch sports?
Yeah, no, I was watching a like a Jeopardy game where they were doing a category for football, and all the contestants, you know, they just didn't know anything about football, just like basic questions about football.
Still, though, I don't want to stereotype here, and yet that's exactly what I'm doing.
Well, gamers these days, I feel like the gamer is more of your everyday. Like, it's not so much the incorrigible nerd that it used to be, you know, in yesteryear. It's like a gamer is just somebody who plays games, and almost all young people play games, and almost all young people watch sports, whether it's wrestling or racing or, you know, the traditionals, football, MMA, UFC, jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, Aikido competitions.
What an amazing speech! I will give you an A+ in your in your English submission for this.
Wait, I wasn't done. I just kind of trailed off. That wasn't intentional. I just stopped thinking of examples.
Oh no! I mean, I wasn't even paying attention to the second half of it, so
Okay.
I just assumed that you wrote a really good conclusion because the start of it was amazing.
In conclusion, sports and games are very similar,
I don't trust him.
and now have similar audiences.
I can't remember exactly. In like school, is like saying in conclusion that was looked down upon, right?
It was like they gave us a list of words to conclude, like to start your concluding sentences. Like it was like to sum up in the end, and then one of them was in conclusion. And because it was the conclusion section, it was kind of like, are you really gonna say in conclusion? Are you?
Yeah, true. I don't really remember that, but I just.
I mean, it always feels like formulaic when you read somebody
What are you up to?
say, like, to conclude.
Waiting for someone?
Yeah, I guess that's true.
No.
Said in the end, one thing, I don't know why. It doesn't even matter how hard you try.
That's kind of introducing.
That's the most natural way to end your speeches.
Yeah, I feel like in the end, it doesn't even matter is a great closing paragraph.
Any high school students watching this, and I know you're not. I see my demographics.
High school students
Did make sure that you send all of your papers with in the end it doesn't even matter. Full stop.
Lincoln Park is incredibly popular with high school students, I believe.
Yeah, you know, I'm talking about I'm chastising you for talking about Henry Winkler for making references to Henry Winkler, and here I am doing the old Lincoln Park bit again.
Well, in fairness, wasn't he on he was on a number of shows kind of later on in his career, he was in The Waterboy.
I know he did. He was a host of one of the bigger game shows.
Okay.
I'm going to need your help.
I don't know why I keep
And I can't
referencing that.
remember
I mean,
what.
I saw The Waterboy in theaters. It's probably not the most famous thing
Oh yeah, he was in that. I forgot.
Henry Winkler has done in the last 25 years. Just a random Adam Sandler vehicle from 1998
Boy,
or
howdy.
something.
Yeah, that is a pretty. I mean, I guess it's not like the deepest Adam Sandler pull, but it's kind of deep, right?
I mean, I saw it in theaters, but it wasn't that wasn't a special, that wasn't a special Adam Sandler experience. It was just, it's a good movie. That line with the medulla.
What is the
oblongata.
deepest Adam Sandler pull that you can do?
I mean, Punch Drunk Love. Nobody seems to have seen that, and that was a really good movie, critically acclaimed and stuff.
Maybe you were planning on telling me then.
Fair enough. Trying to just think right now. Does anybody remember Mr. Deeds that well?
I remember that it existed. I don't remember actually going to see it or seeing it.
I guess it would probably be one of the newer things, like the cobbler or whatever that one was.
Uncut,
You don't mess with the Zohan.
yeah, or Uncut Gems.
Boy, that guy's been in a lot of movies, hasn't he?
I haven't seen Uncut Gems yet. I should, because everyone that I know has seen it or said something about seeing it. Because it featured a basketball player, Kevin Garnett.
The Ridiculous Six. This sounded absolutely terrible, and that was, I guess, supposed to be a play on that one Tarantino movie. Well, anyway, yeah, I've definitely heard about good stuff about Punch Drunk Love, but I don't know anything about it.
So what's happening in this series? What's happening in this right now? Who's Miwa?
Hey, we got to see Natsuno with a bandage on her cheek where she got shot with the nano machine gun.
You mean Natsuno?
Yeah. Do you remember her? It was after she got the robot, the 426 robot.
Oh, right, yeah.
Found out about the Mira robot, which led to us coming up with which led to you realizing the meta
I'm doing it again,
stylings of this game.
Oh my god. I have no memory of this. I barely...
Well, you don't remember the Mira robot?
The mirror... Oh,
That was the Natsuno episode.
Oh, right. Okay, that was Natsuno, yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's...
Natsuno is the girl...
Oh my god, that's the
that's paired.
once again. It's like every single time. I even tried to give you like a 15-minute crash course on some of the stuff that's been happening in this game, and it's still like it's so hard to retain memory of everything that's supposed to be important or might be important or is important.
Well, what are your favorite nuts? Let's change the subject a little.
What are my favorite nuts? I'm a big fan of cashews and almonds. I think that if I was going to pick
Cashews,
anything specifically,
Morris
cashews or almonds are probably the best. And maybe like macadamia, though, being a little bit oilier, it's generally not something that I have every single that I go out of my way to buy. They're also more expensive.
What about pecans?
I don't really like pecans. Actually, funny thing right now, I got some pecan bars from my parent, which I'm saving until we're done here. It's sort of like a pecan pie type of thing, except it's a bar.
Okay, yeah. And so, I see. And so you're saying
Here, I
you
can
like...
eat one right now and
like
tell you how
almonds,
good it is.
you like that like slivered? Or what?
Yakushiji. He's the one receiving nanomachine
Hello?
treatment.
Yo, that's pretty damn good.
He's the one who aimed
Oh, you're eating the... Yeah, I was going to say, so you like the almond slivers, you got the pecan pie, cashews.
Yeah, I'm going to a live review.
So you don't like pistachios that much, because I feel like people who... I feel like I'm kind of a nut.
something I need to do.
we put pistachios pretty high up the list. You know, and the flavor of it. We like it in ice cream. We like to talk about it. Like, hey, you ever had pistachio flavor? I have. You know, because usually they're salted. So, maybe not. Maybe you haven't had it. Pistachio ice cream. It's like green.
It says
What's up with that?
Kurabe on the nameplate.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, that was really good, but also, I don't really like pecans normally, though. I think pecan pie is pretty much the only exception I'll make.
Okay.
Or like candied pecans or something.
Okay. So, yeah, cashews.
But pistachios. So,
Cashews are the
with
ones that
pistachios,
are... Okay.
I never used to like them.
It's easy when
Okay.
you're the one holding the gun.
I think I've turned around on pistachio flavor
The barrel.
a lot more in recent years. And the reason for that, and you're gonna think that this is really dumb,
Okay.
these pistachio flavored Oreos.
Tell me everything you
Huh, that doesn't sound good at all.
No, it's actually really good.
Oh, okay.
It's like I tried some of those, and actually specifically my parents got them, and they didn't like them, so they just gave them to me,
Huh. And you're
more
like,
or less.
oh, I'll at least try this.
You can't barge into someone's house.
And then it's like, because apparently my parents are how I get all of my desserts, as it turns out. But yeah, more or less, they actually were way better than I thought. So
You've got it all wrong.
I feel like I'm actually way more into them now for that chocolate. I mean, of anything, you would think it would be, I don't know, a ice cream or just eating a bunch of pistachios by themselves. They're not that bad or anything, but
Explanation.
as a flavoring, I never was really into it. So no, this is pistachio Oreos. By the way, if you don't know, in America here, our Oreo game, Pop-Tart game, and we got the cat.
The cat
You are
is
not a talking
the
cat.
soul of Karabe.
There must be some trick to it.
And
Also, the cat just kind of appeared out of nowhere, so I think that, yeah.
the cat, it's Morgana, who's a talking cat and assists the main character, but might have something going on himself. Sometimes he becomes...
It's me, the cat, telling you all this stuff that you should know, but don't because of amnesia.
Uh-huh.
Are you talking about the fight against the kaiju?
Sure am. All you
Also, man, this is gonna make doing Megumi's storyline later then weird.
Uh-huh.
I'm guessing you learned
Whatever.
So... what-
There's no good way to do this series. There's
What-
no. I'm sorry. There's just no good way to do this series.
The cat is Karabe, and then the Jiro Karabe, and then Jiro Karabe's body gets the personality transfer to making him Jiro Izumi.
Do you think his personality went into the cat?
I think that's less likely than anything
Well,
else.
not into the cat because we've just
think it's
established that the
more
cat is not
likely-
actually real. It just faded out of the wall.
Oh, okay. So
You mean I was trying
the
to
cat
escape from this world?
is the friend because it's a cat. It's a Megumi,
What did you mean by
and
new
they're friends.
information?
It's a talking cat.
really don't.
Man, you really don't remember a thing. And this is what I'm talking about at the start of the episode. This is so frustrating.
Uh-huh.
Maybe the guy behind
There's a
you knows
plot
something.
involving the cat. The cat is gone. Now there's...
And yeah, the
This is what we call a classic Mexican standoff right here.
yeah, between the cat, the man on the floor, and the girl who's just kind of confused and annoyed at everything. And here's
Yeah.
Mira. Remember, Mira does actually live in there.
Yeah, that's right. That's not weird. It's weird.
He didn't just show up for no reason.
Kind of weird that he's living in his...
And here in 2064, there's Tamao.
Uh-huh.
You might remember her from
Grandma.
1945.
Yeah.
Of course, we also know that there's a robot version of her as well. Oh my god, this game.
Wait, so say your name
Yeah, that
again?
pecan bar is pretty good, though.
Tamako
That is the best way that I
Rabo.
like pecans.
Updating the data for Sentinel number 17 as well.
She's the Jiro's grandma. Grandma, I don't know.
It says Jiro's grandmother, a robot, And also,
A robot who is also representing one of the characters.
What you told me. However,
yes.
Probably Mira in this
I
case.
suggest you stop poking your
Wait, this
nose
is
where it doesn't belong.
Sekigahara. That's his story? Why are we seeing this? This is so confusing.
Because A's here. That's A.
Oh, hey. Like,
He's having a flashback because he remembered that because he saw Miura.
so this is, oh, I see. Okay, so this, okay.
Hey, remember how Miura's a robot?
Hey, Miura. I saw
Man, this game does more.
Well, this would be your first introduction to that if we didn't already play through Natsuno's story 9.
She also
This game has more flashbacks than the game Flashback.
Okay, so there you go. Tamao is a...
Sentinel number 18.
Oh my god. Tamao is one of the Sentinel pilots.
Okay.
I noticed you didn't refer to me by number.
And Tamao is actually Jiro's grandma. Is that right?
Well, you did say you were a
No, she's more or less Jiro's adoptive grandma
Oh, okay.
after he had the personality synthesis.
Oh, so he used to be Izumi, and now he's Kurabe.
You got off
Yes, he's Jiro. He was originally Jiro Izumi, and now he's Jiro Karabe.
Uh-huh. And he committed murders as Jiro Izumi. Is that right?
Or a different loop version of him did.
Okay.
Or it's like that could be himself looping back to the past. You remember, because he clearly looked older, that he could have been looping back the past in the same way that Fuyusaka did. You remember that? How she went back 16 years ago instead of the full 40?
That's how Morimura emerged. Yeah.
Yes, that's where the character we know as Morimura, who is also Fuyusaka, came from.
Oh, of course, yeah. And who is paired with Sekigahara. Sekigahara.
Yes, that's her pair.
computer in the
Okay, I think I'm getting to
Once again, we're finally starting to get to the information where we can start to put together sort of a time. Hey, there you go.
Okay.
2188.
Yep, well, we knew that from the 2020 scene. The other 2020.
Okay, so the Sentinels come from 2188. There we go. Even though Tsukasa said that he created them.
Uh-huh.
Maybe he didn't create them, but he just stole them from 2188.
Uh-huh.
We know that they could be based off of the terraforming robots, the kaiju, which are from 2188 as well.
Okay.
And he didn't like fully create them, something like that.
I guess that makes some sense.
Morimura.
Chihiro Morimura is also trying to prevent people from learning stuff from the database in the UFO.
Okay. Well, she can't even protect her papers in the classroom in the first scene of the game. So
Boy, can she not.
always these.
Why is she doing that? Because we can't have everything be told to us right now. That's why, right?
Huh?
So there's nothing we can do?
Okay, so we got nanomachines. Clearly the nanomachines have either made an AI out of Miura. This is like a previous Miura that was made into an AI. We do seem to know that like characters can be made into AI, as we've seen with 426 and, well, Miura, I guess.
Back up.
Everyone's an AI. No one's an AI, but some characters can be.
Everybody could be an AI and they could all be robots.
Or they could be.
It could be like that old Mr. Bungle song. Nobody knew they were robots.
Or they could be humans that are.
That's my favorite of the Mr. Bungle songs, by the way.
Could be that they're humans, but they've been infested with a protein that nanomachines that's going to turn them into a dang AI in a month. And that's the best case scenario.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is, they look the same as their alternate counterparts. Like, Morimura looks very similar. I mean, maybe that could just be the robots are changing their body or whatever.
Yeah, maybe the Sentinels.
Nanomachines.
The Sentinels are just.
And that these were just, and that like Iori Fuyusaka looked completely different 2 months ago.
No, I know what it is. The Sentinels are actually just gigantic nanomachines.
That's right. I think that's the most sensible thing you said so far.
Yes.
Of course we are.
Well, 13 Sentinels.